Hi folks, I just watched this video and I want to comment on some things and get your feedback. Here we go.
When the Muslim world reacted in fury over the Danish cartoons of Mohammed, this was the face of moderation that European Muslim leaders wanted the world to see.
Notice the spin. They didn't say this is the face of moderate Muslims. They said this is the face that moderate Muslims want you to see. So it almost questions whether or not that's the intent of the moderate Muslim. So already being spun against the Muslims.
The mainstream Muslims living in this country want to show that we can express our protest in a very legitimate, in a very civil, in a very courteous way.
But this is the other face of European Islam.
But this is the other face? That man only had one face. He was representing moderate Islam. Why does that but all of a sudden negate everything that just happened that was great that the moderate Muslims did?
George Bush, go to hell! USA, go to hell! USA, go to hell!
This is footage of the demonstration outside the Danish embassy in London, provided to CBN News by the NIFA Foundation, an anti-terrorism group. What you can't see in this video is that one of the demonstrators is dressed as a suicide bomber. Even moderate British Muslims were outraged that no one was arrested, even though British law forbids incitement to murder.
Even moderate Muslims were outraged. Even moderate Muslims were outraged. Of course, everybody who's moderate, everybody who has good common sense can watch these guys and see these guys are sick puppies. Now, whose fault is it that we're not taking proper care of them? Is it the moderate Muslims who are outraged? Is it their fault that this is going on?
But it follows a pattern of extraordinary and some would say dangerous tolerance of Muslim radicals.
UK, you are paid! UK, you are paid! Bin Laden on his way! Bin Laden on his way!
These protests threatening bloodshed occurred in 2004, 1 year before London's 7/7 subway and bus bombings.
Now Tony Blair has been warned. Pull your troops out of Afghanistan. Pull your troops out of Iraq. And if you do not pull your troops out, you will get bloodshed on the streets of London.
Now that last guy who just spoke, if you don't pull the troops out, you'll have bloodshed on the streets of London. Did he say he was going to cause bloodshed, or did he say that this might end up being a result? So, you see a picture of a bombing, and all of a sudden, it draws a sort of connection that every Muslim who's angry and holding a microphone somehow was involved in these bombings, which isn't true.
Again, no one was arrested, and moderate Muslims tried to keep the media from publicizing what for them has become a public relations nightmare.
Yeah, that's disgusting. I mean, it doesn't serve any purpose. These guys don't represent me. They probably don't represent most Muslims in this country, and they do a disservice not only to, living here in the UK, but they do a major disservice to Muslims.
They may not represent the views of most British Muslims, but polls do suggest the Muslim middle is radicalizing. A recent survey shows that 40% of British Muslims want Islamic Sharia law in the United Kingdom.
Only 40%? Of course Muslims would love Sharia law. It's the law that's tied to their religion. My Baptist grandmother would have loved a Christian or a Baptist law. She would love a Baptist-run America. Oh, it'd be so exciting for her. And I'm surprised it's only 40%. Of course.
Sharia imposes punishments like amputations and stonings.
You know Sharia law. They're the ones who like amputations and stoning so much. It's like saying, American legal system? They're the ones that take murderers and murder them. How can we talk when we hang people? We can still legally hang people in some of our states here. We execute, we murder murderers. And then we take child rapists and abusers, and then we let them back out on the streets to kill and rape again. Now, our legal system isn't perfect. Theirs isn't perfect. I think we should put an end to stonings and hangings.
And in a separate poll, nearly 1/3 of Muslims agreed with the statement that Western society is decadent and immoral, and that Muslims should seek to bring it to an end.
Decadent and immoral. Yeah, that's America. We are. We're probably more decadent and immoral than anybody. There are tons of people here in our country who are moral and who aren't decadent. But America is the place of decadence. They're absolutely right. I want to vote. I vote yes. We're a very heavily immoral and decadent society. It's true. They're absolutely right. I think if you were to interview strict Catholics, strict Jews, strict any sort of Christian about whether America was a decadent society, a religious government would help cure that, I think you're going to find that the numbers are going to be much higher than in the 30 percentile.
Critics say that European political correctness and multiculturalism, which were supposed to embrace Muslim radicals and somehow westernize them, have seriously backfired. And now Western Europe seems paralyzed by the political correctness that grips the government and the media.
One of the biggest fears for a lot of commentators, whether they're terrorist commentators or commentators on the Middle East, is if they actually address this whole issue of Islam and start to question it, what they fear is being labelled as an Islamophobe.
There is a real reluctance to offend the ethnic communities of any sort, let alone the Muslim community.
He said it, it's not just about the Muslims, it's about offending any group. So, to be fair, the rules are supposed to be applied to all people, not just Muslims.
And there seems to be a lack of political will to stop Muslim radicals bent on conquest.
May Allah bomb you! May Osama bin Laden bomb you! May Osama bin Laden bomb you! Of Denmark, so we can invade their country and take their wives and war booty! Allah Akbar!
I think they should just pick that guy up and arrest him. You know, whose fault is it that they're not arresting that guy? Whose fault is it? It's not moderate Muslims' fault. It's that guy's fault for being a lunatic, and then it's the government's fault for not arresting him. It's the government's fault. It's not the Muslims' fault.
The Dutch parliament has tried to strike a blow against radical Islam by voting to ban the burqa and veils.
In an attempt to strike a blow against radical Islam, you're going to try to ban the head coverings of all Muslims? That's crazy. I mean, it doesn't make any sense in any way. And you're saying it like in this documentary, like it makes total sense. Well, you know, the radical Islam minority was behaving badly, so we're going to take all Muslims and not let them wear their headscarves. It's like saying there's 100 homes in this community. In one of the homes, there's a drug dealer. So we're going to go through all 100 homes and take everybody's shoes. It's dumb. It doesn't make any sense. It's just insightful.
Play on America!